All right, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Fuse Number 8 TV. I am your host, Betsy Bird. Hello. And I'm almost getting a hang of these things. Yes. So, if you're familiar with the show, each time I do one of these, I begin with a little monologue of one sort or another, and then I sort of segue into our special guest. Our special guest this week, we are very, very pleased to have Henry Clark, who has written a to that in just one second. But first, I would like to do the next in my series of reading too much into picture books. And if you're unfamiliar with the series, it's very simple. I take a picture book of some sort, and then I extrapolate weird interpretations onto it that bear no version of the truth in them whatsoever. They're just what I do. So I believe last month, we did Go Away Big Green Monster and how it relates to Ross Perot, like you do. This week, we've got a lovely little book here. Yes, so that would be Go Dog Go. You may be familiar with it by P.D. Eastman, not Dr. Seuss. None of this. Go Dog Go, I should say, and I should just sort of give you a little background on this one. It's sort of a little lovely little haiku of a book. It's fantastic. It's the weirdest, most bizarre book. I think it was John Sheska who said that it was one of the weirdest children's books and one of the most beloved of his entire life. Because there is no rhyme or reason to this book. There is an interior logic to it, but beyond that, it's just rather strange. Now, the part of the book that I'm going to concentrate on, part of the book that I think is very interesting, and I'm going to credit my brother-in-law, Steve Bird, with this, because this is something I never would have noticed on my own. Or maybe I would have, I don't know. First of all, if you've read the book, then you are familiar with this. All right, you see this? So this is the, we're going to call her female dog with the male dog, continually asking, do you like my hat? He inevitably says, I do not. They part ways. First, when this happens, you don't blame him. It's not a great hat. It's blue. If you like blue, it's fine. Then we move on. Oh, she's getting a little more ambitious. So now she's got a plume. All right. She asks, do you like my hat? He says, I do not. We move on. He takes the plume just because he's kind of a jerk. We get this feeling. This is the feeling we're beginning to get. We're like, okay, he's kind of a jerk. But by the same token, we're like, why does she care what he thinks? She seems to. She keeps asking him. So that's the second one. Then we get to, they actually run into each other on a mountaintop because they're very athletic. And she asks with this, okay, this is admittedly a very ridiculous hat. She says, do you like my hat? He says, I do not like that hat. Can't blame him for that one. She's actually beginning to get a little pissed off. She is not exactly pleased with this. Then we get to, it's the rule of threes. If you're going to do something funny, you do it 3 times. So that's the 3rd time. So that means that the 4th time there has to be a change, as any good work of literature would do. This is true. So the dogs all go off, and where are they going? They're going to a tree. Like, a rather large tree. At the top of the tree is this crazy dog party. I'm talking, these guys are up to all sorts of things. There's like presents and like mounds of cake, and there's people's feet just sort of sticking out for no particular reason, and there's like a trampoline and a tree. Is that smart? We don't know. And a cannon. I really approve of the cannon, actually, because cannons and trees, what could go wrong? And then she comes down with, and this is true, the world's craziest hat. And if you aren't paying attention, please note that there are spiders, actual honest to God spiders coming out of this hat, all right? This hat with the bone and the mouse and the rubber fish and just the flowers and the candy canes and the mop is where my special love comes in. Okay, she says at this wild party, hello again, do you like my hat? And now do you like my hat? And he says, I do, what a hat, I like that hat. I like that party hat. And then you see them driving off together. Now, little girls, if you ask a boy to pay attention to you, and he's total jerk to you over and over again, and then there's this crazy wild party, and suddenly he's all like super nice to you, and he says to get in his car with him, don't go, don't go, don't go. That is the lesson, the true lesson that we all should take to heart of Go Dog Go. Do not get into that car. It is, I don't know what happens next, but because there was no sequel to Go Dog Go, so thank God for that. Yay. Moving on. So, as I mentioned before, we are very, very pleased this week to have our very own, very special guest, and his name is Henry Clark. Now, you may know him best for the book that proves that time travel happens. His newest one. He actually had one out before called What We Found in the Sofa and How It Saved the World. And so, Mr. Clark, we are so pleased to have you today. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, here is my office, but, you know, it's a pleasure to be there, too.
It's fine.
I think anywhere, actually, yes.
Yeah, are we both in New York?
We are both in New York. We may be both on Long Island, for all I know. You work on Long Island.
I work on Long Island, that's true. I live in Harlem, so it's not as if
okay, so you're in Manhattan and you actually commute to Long Island. You've, like, reversed 100 years of commuting. It must be easy. You must be going against traffic all the time.
It is. It's wonderful. I always get a seat on the 7 train when I'm going home. It's lovely. In the morning, it's not so bad. I always get a seat on the 7 train. I'm a pro 7 train. I might be the only one. So at least we're not in the same borough, because that would just be ridiculous if we're doing this interview in this chat-like way, and then we're in the actual. We're both in Long Island City. That'd be ridiculous. But thank you so much for doing this. I tried to get a little bio for you to read at the beginning here, and I liked your bio on your website, but it was of no use to me whatsoever.
No, it's deliberately that way. Yes, there's absolutely nothing of any use on my website, and I keep it that way. So.
Is that to foil kids writing reports so that they actually do the research?
Something. It is not a really kid-friendly website now that I think of it. But I don't know. Those very special kids would like it.
Oh yeah, no. There's kids that would get a kick out of it. There are fun things there. So let's talk about your latest book. Your latest book is the book that proves that time travel happens, which is you excel in the long titles. Since you also did What We Found in the Sofa and How It Saved the World. So you don't go for like those one-namer titles there. You go for like there's a whole plot in sort of thought up when one reads your title. So can you give me a rundown of the book? What is it about?
The time travel book is about a 12-year-old boy named Ambrose Brody who lives in the present day in the Ohio town of Freedom Falls. And Ambrose has a bit of a problem because his father has an alternative lifestyle. His father is a trans-temporal, or trans-temp, or sometimes it's put, he's a cross-time dresser. He prefers to dress in the clothing of other time periods rather than contemporary dress. So he mows the lawn wearing a court jester's outfit or things like that. And it started to put some stress on the family. His father was wearing a World War I gas mask at one dinner, and his mother's gone to her sister's for a few days to sort of get over it. And the father does this not just at home, but in his place of business. He's an English teacher at Ambrose's middle school, where he is seen dressing in armor and as a fur trapper and as a Continental soldier from Washington's army. And he gets himself suspended by the school board because the school board feels that this is disruptive. That's where the story begins. Ambrose and his friend Tom have decided to go to a carnival to consult a fortune teller so that Tom can find out what is going to happen with his family. Will his mother come back? Will his father get his job? And at the carnival, he meets the daughter of the fortune teller, who just happens to have a family heirloom that is a time travel device. And the story then proceeds from there. So,
I like that. I mean, I actually think I probably know people who suffer from this.
Well, I do. I mean, I can tell just by the way you're looking that you can recognize the collar on this T-shirt as a late 20th century collar. In fact, let me see. Can I?
Sure, yeah, let's see.
There's the whole shirt, and if you look closely, I believe it says summer of '99, last summer of the century, Block Island. And you and I both know that the summer of '99 wasn't the last summer of the century. The summer of 2000 technically is the last summer of the century. But if you're trying to make a fast buck from tourists on Block Island, you do this sort of thing. I'm much more comfortable wearing the clothing of 1999 than I am of 2015.
When
Nobody has, and nobody
yeah,
will.
Oh, go ahead.
Say they're going to party like it's 2015. All right, you just know that. So I am a trans temp myself, and that's why I wrote this book, to sort of defend these folks, because you and I both know that no employer ever hires the applicant who comes to the job interview wearing chainmail or dressed as Marie Antoinette. I mean, they may say they're unbiased, but they do not hire these people.
No,
and it's about time they were given a fair shake.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
And I would like to point out that I don't think any of your young fans were alive when your T-shirt was created.
No, I was thinking that earlier. That I wear shirts that are older than my readers.
That is a frightening thought, actually.
It is.
Yesterday, right?
I mean, I have the shirts because I never throw anything out. I mean, this is comparatively new for apparel. You know, some of my socks go back to the 60s.
Excellent.
Yes.
I had all my socks. Now, I was actually at a Little Brown, because it's published by Little Brown. I was at they do these librarian previews.
Yes. They also told me to sip coffee frequently, so that it gets the. Do you have a HarperCollins mug? Because that's the good thing about being traditionally published, is that you get the publisher's mugs. If you haven't gotten a HarperCollins mug, go there. And this one was taken off a desk that was unoccupied. I was walking by when I was seeing my editor. I finished the remaining coffee and quickly tucked it into my pocket. So now I have my little brown mug.
And it was scalding hot.
It's been there for a while, but.
Exactly. No, I have other people's mugs, other publishers' mugs, because they send them to me. I do not have, ironically, a HarperCollins. No. No, I don't even have a Candlewick mug. I don't have any of my publishers' mugs. I don't have an ALA Editions mug. My goodness. I'll start to beat some heads. I have an Abrams mug.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously. With tote bags. That's actually what librarians work. We our currency is tote bags, so I have many tote bags.
I have a Hachette tote bag, Hachette being the parent company to Little Brown.
Yes, which you probably can't get on Amazon. Anyway, at this preview, they happen to discuss a rather fascinating link that I think you mentioned in the book between the I Ching and Morse code. I wondered if you could speak a little bit on that.
Yes, and I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation. Here it is. Okay, the I Ching is a 3,000-year-old Chinese book that centers on 64 what are called hexagrams. A hexagram is 6 lines. Some of the lines are broken, some of the lines are complete. And it's sort of a fortune-telling thing. It's sort of a daily advice thing. That doesn't really matter. But it's been around for 3,000 years. Each of the hexagrams in the I Ching has a name. And the characters in my book discover that the hexagrams actually contain Morse code. For instance, we have here the hexagram that for 3,000 years has meant travel. And if you know Morse code, not too many people do, but an unbroken line, a dash, is a T, when we're saying the broken lines are each dots. Okay, so 2 dots are an I, 2 dashes there, that's an M, single dot is an E, and then 3 dots is an S. It spells times. The hexagram that says travel spells times. Times travel. I mean, obviously, this was no accident. You're probably thinking it's a single coincidence, but no, I have another. Clipboards are going to put the iPad out of business. That's my prediction. And that's why I have no money in Apple, but I put a lot of my stock money into a clipboard company. All right, but here's the hexagram that for many, many years has meant decay. And if you use the Morse code, you discover that it spells dead. Not bunnies, not roses, it spells dead. What are the odds of a hexagram that for 3,000 years has meant decay actually saying in Morse code dead? And there are literally dozens of these in the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So obviously a time traveler went back and for some reason incorporated Morse code into the hexagrams of the I Ching. I mean, the hexagram for trouble contains the word erase. What do you try to do with trouble? You erase it. A hexagram called the well-regarded maiden contains the word esteem. You esteem a well-regarded maiden. Great power, that hexagram contains the word hot. Great power is hot. And, most telling of all, the hexagram known as fire contains the word tuna. And who among us has not wanted our seafood seared on the outside, yet moist and delicious on the inside? Absolute proof to me and the characters in the book that time travel has been achieved. And it's left as a reader to find the others, and there are others, I assure them. So.
Fantastic. Now, of course, this all.
I'm going to ask that question. I just was prepared.
I like the PowerPoint. I like the PowerPoint aspect of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that actually in my presentations at work.
Yeah, so that's going to put both Microsoft and the clipboards will put Apple out of business. So it's do not put any of your money in those two companies because they're on the way out.
Big clipboard for like if there's like a room. Yeah, just hold that up. Of course, all this reminds me of my personal favorite time travel movie, which is 12 Monkeys. Because I very much enjoy the point where they go back in time, and where you look at the photographs and you can see him in the background. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Now, if you were to name your own favorite time travel book or film, what would that be?
My favorite time travel film would also have been directed by Terry Gilliam, who I believe directed 12 Monkeys. Time Bandits, for two reasons. Where else could you see Sean Connery as Agamemnon? When I was forced in high school at gunpoint to read the Oresteia, I did envision an Agamemnon who spoke with a Scottish accent, and Connery just nails it in Time Bandits. The other thing I love about that movie is the time travel movie theme, which occurs over the closing credits, written by George Harrison. It's called Dream Away, and of all the time travel themes, that is one of the best. And it's one that I played on occasion when I got bogged down writing the time travel book, because it just sort of picks you up, and it's the sort of record I would bring to a giant dance party.
Nice. I'm trying to think like what any other time travel theme would be.
Well, there are very few. There, of course, the little-known theme to the actual Time Machine, which was sung to the tune of Tangerine. You can see how well it works. The old ballroom classic, Tangerine, Time Machine. Yeah, which isn't as catchy as Harrison's little ditty.
Well, it beats the think Back to the Future. All I can think of is The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News.
Which really doesn't address the time travel thing.
Not at all. Not at all. I would rescore that film.
Yes.
I like the theme itself, but yeah. Now, if you had the chance to go back in time yourself, where would you prefer to end up?
Oh, about half an hour ago, so we could actually get the thing going right off the bat, and I'd be more lucid and clear once it started. Failing that, I would go back to August 14th, 1789, 11:46 in the morning, Naples, Italy, for the invention of pizza. Because who wouldn't want to be there when that first pie came out of the oven? And I'd go back with my little circular little cutting tool thing that they probably wouldn't have invented yet, because it's the sort of thing I think would follow after the invention of pizza. But that's definitely
first, actually, yeah. You'd have to invent the pizza just to justify its existence in the world. Like, well, it doesn't cut paper.
True. Have you tried?
One moment. So yes, this is excellent. And now, what are you working on now? Or can you say? Because I do ask this question sometimes, and people are like, I can't tell you what I'm working on, and that would jinx the whole thing. So, can you say?
For the past 6 months, I've been working on a new slogan for the New York Public Library, and I think that I've finally honed it to perfection, and I'm wondering whether I could debut it here.
I would love to.
Okay, all right. My slogan for the New York Public Library, 6 months of work. The New York Public Library encourages you to read between the lions. See, it references the iconic lions in front of the building.
I got that part.
Yeah, see? And they're going to get a lot of publicity in the future because they're in the new Radio City Music Hall spring show. Apparently the lions are animatronic or something.
They are, with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey doing their voices, in spite of the fact that they are clearly male lions. They have manes, but we're not going to look too much into that one. So.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay, but yes. So, but that's my agent is going to submit that to the library slogan editors at the end of the week, and I'm expecting a movie deal out of that. I really do think that will materialize.
Oh, see, now you've got me. Fun little known fact: the MGM lion was inspired by those lions because originally Selznick's office was across the street from the main branch of NYPL, and he always saw those lions, and that is why he decided on the lion for the MGM. Little known fact about NYPL. So there you go.
I know you also know the names of the lions, so I mean.
Yes. I know the previous names of the lions. I mean, I know Patience and Fortitude.
They changed their names?
Yeah,
Were the previous ones like too ethnic or something? What? No,
it was the Depression. So Fiorello felt that the New Yorkers were exhibiting patience and fortitude. Let's rename the lions, but not their original names, because their original names, and again, remember, two male lions were Lord and Lady Astor. Because, right. Apparently people couldn't really relate to that during the Depression. I'm not sure why. Who knows? So yeah, now they're patience and fortitude. Yeah. So they're good lions. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for talking about your book. It's a fantastic book, fun and exciting, and I'm a sucker for time travel. So right there you go. And yeah, well, I'm looking forward to whatever happens in the future. See how I did that?
Yes. Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure being here.